Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Second Take. I'm your host, Pastor TK, and today we're going to be talking about the delusion of entertainment. Feel free to like this podcast, like this particular episode, share it with your loved ones, forward it to people that you feel might want to watch this or might be influenced by this, and if you just feel that it is good entertainment. Okay. So on since we're talking about entertainment, uh today's subject is obviously on the delusion of entertainment. And what exactly do I mean by that? So entertainment in itself, like at its most basic, is just imp anything that is put on for the enjoyment of others, whether it's satire, whether it's music, whether it's minstrels, whatever it is, it that's entertainment where someone, an audience, is uh, watching someone perform. um, that's basically entertainment. So it could be a play, it could be, something that's done on stage, it could be a fight, it could be a football match, whatever the case is. Pardon my voice, I'm a bit under the weather, but we'll try and push through. And so entertainment has been in existence for the longest time, right? And therefore we can't dismiss its impact over the past couple of millennia, right? It's something that is part of our society, both for the good and for the bad. Obviously, it will be for the bad will come when something is misused or used for malicious purposes, when someone uses it for their own selfish gain or whatever the case is. And so, entertainment in itself has nothing wrong with it, because if anything, as we will see, the advantages are quite, you know there is some advantage to having entertainment, right? I mean, we can all agree to that. I mean, there are those days when we don't want to do anything, when we just want to be couch potatoes and just chill on the couch. So it has the power to bring people together or push them apart. It can even save lives. It helps us understand the world and ourselves, and it helps us socialize. That's pretty much putting it, mildly, or summing it up in kind of a nutshell. That entertainment is there as an escape. It's supposed to be an escape from our daily stresses. It's supposed to be an escape from reality, where maybe we get pressures, or we just don't want to deal with real life, as people would say nowadays, adulting. You don't want to adult today, and so you just spend your time on TV, or watching movies, streaming, whatever the case is. And it will serve its purpose. You'll be entertained, you'll watch whatever you enjoy, and that'll be that. The disadvantage now might come when that becomes your life. It's now your lifestyle. As long as something is overused or used in a way which goes against its nature, it becomes abuse. And when we use entertainment to sort of escape always, when we overuse it, when now I rely on movies, I rely on series, I rely on music to kind of take me away from reality, then it becomes abusive. It becomes one of those things where it's not healthy anymore. And so it's always important to kind of have that balance, kind of know when to draw the line, kind of know what is the limit, what is what I'm consuming doing to me or for me. And so therefore it stands to reason that if the opportunity is there for someone to abuse the impact of entertainment, then they probably would. And we know that out in the world, not everyone has the best intentions. And so, you'll have cases where present day entertainment is becomes less about the entertainment and more about pushing a message, about pushing an agenda, about representing something, or even manipulating, if you will. And so it becomes a bit disingenuous, when we try, like, because people as human beings, we are trusting, we there's an innocence in most of humanity that, it's bordering on being naive or not having that much understanding of the world, or that there is evil out there, there are people that don't mean well, you know and so it's easy for the general public, for the normal human being, for the normal person to be impacted or influenced by the things that are put in front of them. And again, this is not the fault of the medium, it's the fault of the person behind the medium. So, TV networks, streaming services, social media platforms, every gatekeeper in all of those media has the responsibility, or at least has the power to an extent, to be able to say, look, this is what's permissible because of ABCD, and this isn't, right? But there is a danger in today's society where, because of how everything is set up, um, everything we consume is a bit nuanced. It's so mixed bag. It's full uh, of content that doesn't, like, I'll give an example. Back in the day, you knew that, in a certain season, you were going to be watching ninja movies, like, for those 5 years or those 10 years, it was just ninja movie after ninja movie, you know and it was action, boom bang. You were either going to see Arnold in a movie, or uh Van Damme or Stallone. It was so formulaic, and even the plots were similar. Even the how do I put it? Even the structures of some of the movies, series, some of the music, ballads, uh, rock, like, everything was sort of tailored in a certain way. And even now, don't get me wrong, even now you see some of the fight scenes in movies are more or less the same. Plot lines. If it's a superhero movie, there's going to be a sky beam at some point, or they're going to be fighting something that's falling from the sky, or that's coming up from the ground and going upwards. But there is now a marriage between, uh like, what's in the social sphere and what's in movies, way more than it was beforehand. And but when I refer to the past, it's not to say that the past was better. It's to show the gradual change that's been happening in in terms of the media. And so we find ourselves in a place where, the things that were kind of Easter eggs back in the day, when You would put something in there, and if someone was watching a movie or a series, they'd be like, "Wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Where's that coming from? What is he talking about?" And then you'd be like, "Oh, yes." But now it's almost vice versa. It's almost like the nudge, nudge, wink, wink is forceful. It's more of, okay, so we are also woke, or we also down with the youth, or we're down with the program. We're hip, we're funky, okay, all the words I just used are like from 1980 something. But it's it's now almost like entertainment has evolved and adapted to society, where back in the day you would have entertainment emulate society, but now it's almost like entertainment is influencing society because of what the medium is. I'll explain. So now where we're at is in such a place where everything is now being curated for a purpose. It's being, yes, it was back in the day, but you would mostly see, uh, excuse me, you would mostly see ads that would have, like a social message, or, try to influence people to buy their products and so on. But now it's the movies themselves are the ads. The series themselves are the ads for whether it's a movement, whether it's something that is a social, that demands social justice. All this stuff is being infused into movies and TV series, and i- it's almost like everything that's being put in these series and movies is made to influence decisions. There's a book that was written in the 30s, I think, or in the 20s, by an author called Edward Bernays, called Propaganda. And now this book was mostly to do with marketing, but the things that he put in there, because he was a psychologist and I think, I can't remember the other profession, but he was a shrink, and he knew the impact that certain ways of manipulation had on how people buy products. And so most of the campaigns that he was involved in reported growth after he implemented a certain strategy. And so these strategies that he put in this book were not only used in marketing and advertising over the years, but also even in political campaigns and so on. And so basically what's happening now, even to this day, some of the stuff that he put in there, though controversial, is still being used. And you will have things like, how propaganda will make people feel that they're practicing freedom. So how to impact people in this context, for example, if you want someone to adhere to your agenda, you make them feel like this is their choice and they're free if they practice what you are preaching. Okay. So basically, if you push Black Lives Matter, for example, I'm not talking about it in any positive or negative way, I'm just giving an example. If you push Black Lives Matter, for example, in a series or a movie, when someone ends up making a decision to also do the same, the idea would have been to make them feel as if they do it, they are free, or they are freeing someone, or freeing a group of people. Also, entertainment now and the way they're using it is to make people is in such a way that it will make someone believe that without that, whether it's that agenda, that product, that function, they will not be able to function. And that's how you push something onto the masses. So you push a product, you push an agenda, you push something that you want people to end up believing or adhering to. And one way is to make them believe that without that, they can't function. Another way is you make people feel like they are participating in something great or impactful. We have so many of these causes, whether it's Me Too, Black Lives, all that. When you give someone a cause, you speak to what's inherent in us as human beings to feel important, to feel like we're part of something, to feel like we're doing something that will be impactful and change people's lives. And so that's what's happening most of the time in series and movies, where this a woke culture is being purported or pushed onto the masses. And lastly, you give people an alternative to what they're used to, which seems better. So basically, if someone, if you push something that feels as if it is better than what they've had before or what they were used to, you've won people over. Simple as that. And so, right now, where we are is a very interesting time because with social media, content creation is at people's fingertips, literally. Like, someone can pretty much be an overnight celebrity, someone can be an influencer, someone can be impactful just by having a channel, creating content. And so everything becomes decentralized. There's no sort of quality control. There's no one to censor. There's no one to say, oh, this content goes against this belief. People can say that in comments, but there's no gatekeeper per se. And even though um, the streaming services and the social media platforms might say, oh, we actually have quality control and all that stuff, but to what extent? Community guidelines and all that stuff. And so basically, what we were sort of getting at here is, how are we consuming entertainment? How are we being entertained? How are we letting the things that are out in the world impact us? How are we letting our how are we letting what goes into our minds affect us? Are they affecting or impacting us positively or negatively? In Proverbs 4, verse 23, it says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. I think the King James Version says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the things of life. And so when we consume things that are supposed to entertain us, what exactly are we consuming for? And it might, we might not be aware of it. We might be like, oh, okay, that's just too much to, overthink and say, I'm consuming this entertainment, I'm consuming this content because of, I'm just lazy. I just want to, you know, veg out on the couch and just not do anything, just be on a lazy weekend and not think too much about life, and it's all good. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that's on this earth that's just merely exists for the sake of existing. Everything has a purpose, everything has a reason. And everything that we consume was also created for a reason. It was made by someone with intent. And therefore, we should guard our hearts with all diligence, for out of it flows the things of life. In Psalm 119, verse 37, it says, "Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity, and quicken thou me in thy way." This is also to do with what we consume, what we put inside our hearts, what we put inside our brains, what we feed in ourselves. I've been a bit skeptical of late when it comes to entertainment, with regards to kids, and it's really something that I am very concerned about, having a daughter as well. But just the fact that there's lots of things that are becoming infused in entertainment, even for kids, and it's not something that a parent wants to be battling with or dealing with, because at the end of the day, the kids are the closest thing to God's heart. It says that the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as them, right? And even us, when we are asked to have faith, we're asked to have a childlike faith, an innocence, a trust that exists. And so when we have that, it's difficult for us to still be that vulnerable when everything around us seems like its intent is to harm us. So let us be careful of what we induce. This is something that I just felt was on my heart, and I also want to pass to anyone that's taking the time to listen. We ought to. I mean, it's something that goes without saying. So I pray that we guard our hearts with all diligence, and we consume the things of God, and that we keep having impactful entertainment, such as this, where the messages are positive. Everything we're speaking about is to do with the things of life, you know, benefiting us for this life into the next. And I pray that it has been impactful, not just this show, everything that's on the channel. Feel free to also browse through once this is done. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode. Feel free to go through our channel for anything else that might be um, impactful to you. I pray that you guard your heart, and that God speaks with you, and that He is the one who influences you in your decisions on a daily. Be blessed.